President Bola Ahmed Tinubu enjoined Nigerians to rededicate themselves to strengthening democracy as a form of government of free people. The president, in his first Democracy Day broadcast earlier today, also called on those in elected positions to recommit themselves to selfless service to the people, delivering concrete democracy dividends. Nigeria's democracy had seen several births and deaths before its rebirth in the Fourth Republic. But for President Tinubu, the sacrifices made by those he described as heroes and heroines of the famous June 12 struggle were too much to throw to the wind. Reaffirming his administration's commitment to ensuring welfare of the people, which he says MKO Abiola died for, and the right dividends of democracy with right policies and programs, the president says the pains occasioned by his confirmation of a fuel subsidy removal at inauguration is only a momentary sacrifice to herald more gains of democratic governance. Then he called on Nigerians, particularly those who have benefited from the democratic process, to so guide it. The hope dashed in 1993 is now being renewed, a possible atonement for those who could not see the end of the struggle, and maybe an assurance that the labor of our heroes past will not be in vain. Today is Democracy Day, therefore, how best can we guide and guard our democracy and maximize its dividends, both as leaders and followers? Well, our guests shall be providing answers to these questions and others in a moment. This is Nigeria Today. I am Ikaria Clinton. Welcome. Joining me in the studio to discuss this is the President, Women in Politics, Ebere Ifendo. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
And also with me in the studio is Chief Judge Abakahe. Chief Judge Abakahe is a member APC, PCC Media and Publicity Directorate, Southeast leader, Tinubu Support Organization, and also a political affairs analyst. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
I will start with you, Ebere. First of all, happy Democracy Day.
Thank you. I wish Nigerians the same.
Okay, I'll start with you because I believe in the ladies first. I'll start with Ebere. So let's start with what does June 12 stand for today as far as Nigeria democracy is concerned?
Well, for me, I think June 12 is the pillar of our democracy. It was the struggle of June 12 that gave birth to this democracy that we're enjoying today. And I tell you, and I think at this point I'll agree with Mr. President, that people paid a huge price for us to have this democracy. And his speech today actually validated what I've been saying. You know, I've talked about Kudirat Abiola. You know, I said earlier that she should be immortalized. I said that as you know, they celebrate June 12, she should also be celebrated. So it's a validation, and I think for there to be, you know, a democracy, a complete democracy, I'm looking at inclusion. I'm looking at the women, persons with disabilities, the youth also to be part of democracy. I think it was just that area that the president did not touch at this time. You know, if we're celebrating democracy, we should think of how to celebrate an inclusive democracy. So it's an opportunity actually for Mr. President in celebrating democracy today. Look at, you know, his campaign promises, especially with the affirmative action, and to ensure that, you know, women participate in this administration. And then the only way that can be achieved for me also is where we have, you know, concrete legislation to that effect. And it means that Mr. President should be looking towards, you know, bringing back the 5 gender bills that Nigerian women lost, ensuring that the matter that Nigerian women won, going to court on national gender policy, winning at the federal high court, and then, you know, and the government appealed it. We are looking at this administration to withdraw that matter and to ensure that there is affirmative action.
And just to say something about, he talked about the inclusion of youth and women.
Yes.
But he mentioned it during his own inauguration as one of the guidelines.
No, we are talking about this democracy day.
But don't worry, yes. we'll get there probably in the course of our discussion. Now, Mr. George, today the president gave a speech, the democracy in commemoration of the Democracy Day. Now, there are some points he made in his speech. Now, how apt are these some of these points that he made during his speech?
Well, to me, I think Democracy Day is the restoration of democracy in this Fourth Republic, especially when you take into consideration, you know, the lengthy years of military dictatorship from 1984 to 1999. You know, it was a long struggle in which some of our fellow countrymen paid the supreme price and lost their lives. So it is a very significant day for this great country. Our dear President, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, made a very compelling, powerful, and inspiring speech today. And if you watch and listen to his speech today, I believe at some point he became pretty emotional, probably considering the fact that he was in the forefront of the democratization of this great country. You know, he paid glowing tribute of some of the democratic, you know, heroes, you know, in this country. You know, talked about Chief MKO Abiola, who is the pillar of democracy in modern Nigeria, and talked about, you know, his lovely wife, you know, Kadirat Abiola. Pa Alfred talked about him, as well as, you know, Lieutenant General Shehu Musa Yaradua. He talked about all these people. You know, democracy is an important day, and for him, you know, who played a huge role, you know, in the democratization of this country, we are all aware, you know, that he fought tooth and nail. You know, he fought the despotic regime of Sani Abacha, and even sacrificed, you know, left his family, left his lovely wife, and went on self-exile to a foreign country. And he was one of the leaders, you know, of NADICO, you know, the group that fought tooth and nail, you know, for restoration of democracy in this country. He made a very compelling speech, and apart from the glowing tribute he paid on these major pillars of democracy, you know, he was able to, you know, talk to Nigerians, you know, reinforcing traditional democratic values, you know, of fairness, of honesty, you know, of selflessness, you know, mutual respect. You know, he talked about unity, you know, most of the things that Nigeria needs for our democracy to thrive, you know, but very, very important, he mentioned the issue of petroleum subsidy, you know, which is very critical for the development of this country. He sympathized. If you watched him, he sympathized in a very emotional form, you know, towards, you know, the masses, you know, the civil servants and others in respect of the sufferings that they may go through during this difficult period. But in the long run, according to him, Nigeria will reap the fruit of removal of this subsidy. You can agree with me that Nigeria pays about $10 billion annually, spend about $10 billion annually on petroleum subsidy. You know, in this 2023 budget, the supplementary budget, you know, I think it was about 2.557 trillion naira, you know, that was supposed to be spent, you know, for subsidy. So it's a whole lot. And the president has now told us that he will cushion the effects, you know, of this removal of petroleum subsidy. He has said that he will concentrate on certain sectors of the economy, such as transportation, health, infrastructure, education, employment opportunities, for the youth and the women. So I think he made a very compelling speech, to Nigerians. And, I was pretty delighted with his speech. I looked at him, he was pretty humble, he was very charismatic, and it was an all-round speech. I was pretty delighted with that speech.
I can see that. Now, Ebere, I know earlier on you mentioned the fact that there were things that he should have mentioned that he did not mention. However, there were some salient points he made in a speech that matters to our democracy today. What would that be for you?
Well, I'll take it from where my brother stopped. Looking at the fuel subsidy removal, for me, it's long overdue. And I give him credit, for taking that bold step to do that. Even though he identified that it was not provided for in the budget. But it was good that, he could take that decision to remove this fuel subsidy. And I'm also happy that he also recognized the effect, the negative effect, short term, it will have, on the economy and then, like the poor masses. I'm happy that he talked about transportation and other ways that he will bring in to cushion the effects of the fuel subsidy. But for me, I believe and I'm hopeful that within a very short period or short time, the effect of the fuel subsidy must have relaxed, and people will begin to get the dividends of removal of the fuel subsidy, because I've always seen it as a scam. And then for him to have taken that decision, for me, I think it's a very good thing to do. I'm also happy that he didn't forget the matters of this democracy, but I will want him to go a step further to recognize them more. We have to immortalize them, and I've also asked in the past that Chief MKO Abiola be recognized as a president, actually, of this country, because he actually won the election. Everyone agrees with that he won that election. And then for him to have paid that huge price, there has to be something, his family could, lay hands on. And that's the reason I'm saying that he should be, given that status of a former president. He could also be posthumously awarded the GCFR. These are some of the things that will make the family feel that their father and their mother actually didn't die in vain. And then we have, national things that they could name after Kudirat Abiola. And anyway, we are also going to be looking at the very poor people, because people died to get this democracy. Apart from the people Mr. President mentioned, there were very unknown people also. I remember then I was in Lagos. Every June 12th used to be, a kind of riotous day and things like that. So I want those people also, to be recognized that ordinary Nigerians also paid, a huge price. But for me, actually, it was a good speech. Yeah.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll take a short break now, but we'll return after the break. Please don't go away.
The implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow, under digital economy, for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different? We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that are questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today. Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today, and I'm still here with my guests, Chief George Abakahe and Ebere Ifendu. Now, Chief Judge, we earlier, I know you've mentioned quite a lot about the speech, but then the hero of today, who is MKO Abiola, in whose memory we are celebrating the Democracy Day today, in his manifesto back then, it was, he christened it Farewell to Poverty. Now, how do you think this administration will work towards achieving that dream? Because it was a dream. And I know in his speech he also mentioned that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu earlier. So how do you think this administration can achieve that dream?
That's a pretty good question. You know very well that our current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has been working on the issues of poverty, even when he was governor of Lagos State. You know, and if you analyze pretty well, you'll find out that there are similarities between the Hope 93 and Renewed Hope 2023. And if you also listen or read, you know, the manifesto of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during the electioneering campaign, the issue of poverty, alleviating poverty in this great country, was the center stage. So I believe he has the capability, you know, to, if not eradicate poverty, but to reduce it to the barest minimum. You know, when he was governor of Lagos State, most of the programs that he rolled out were, you know, pretty friendly in eliminating poverty. Okay, this issue of removal of fuel subsidy is an area, is a very bold step that our president took. This will turn out to be one of the critical factors that will reduce poverty and provide employment opportunities in this country. And he has already met with the Labour Congress as well as other consumer groups, you know, fashioning out ways to cushion the effects, you know, of this, you know, removal of oil subsidy. So check his programs. You know, he has signed the electricity bill into law, you know, and he has also talked about ways that he will be able to provide regular electricity supply to Nigerians. You know, I believe, you know, the issue of elimination of the what do they call it, to eliminate this monthly billing. Okay. The monthly billing is pretty corrupt, you know, and it has been a way of bringing poverty to Nigerians. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has talked about eliminating this corrupt monthly billing, you know, by the AEDCs, okay, you know, and the estimated billing. Yes, billing. It is a very corrupt practice, and that will be eliminated. And production, you know, of meters would now be done by Nigerians. You know, Nigerians can be empowered. We have a lot of engineers in Nigeria, you know, that can handle the production of meters. We don't need to wait for Chinese people or people, other, you know, Western countries to produce, you know, meters for electricity in this country. So I think there are several ways that he would do. He talked, even in this speech, he talked about welfareism. You know, he will look for ways to provide unemployment, and this will serve. These are ways to eliminate poverty in this country.
Thank you very much. Ebere, you know, in our country, formulation of policies has never been a problem. But the problem here is implementation. So how can this administration ensure the implementation of its policies?
Well, I think it's too early to begin to question the capacity, you know, of this administration to implement some of the policies they've come up with.
No,
But
you're not questioning.
no,
You're
what I'm trying to say is we're not interrogating those promises, the policies as it were. But what I'm saying is we'll give them a little time. I don't want to sound as a critic, but my eyes are wide open. Likewise, my ears, and I want to see that the campaign promises are fulfilled. I want to also believe that the president, before coming up with those campaign promises, may have thought through, and had ideas of how to implement them. But it is important for us as citizens of this country, to begin to enjoy dividends of democracy. So for me, we have very high unemployment rates that we can no longer, cope with. Our youths are all coming out from the universities and they have no jobs. And this is not right. Our healthcare system is nothing to write home about. I was reading just a few days ago about the maternal mortality rate in the world, and I was so shocked to see that Nigeria is, at the scale of one of the countries with very high maternal mortality rates. These things are things that will help us as Nigerians if actually the president will take care of healthcare, will take care of education, and will take care of unemployment. From there, we can now, start talking about small-scale, businesses, and especially for the market women, actually, because they are actually the drivers of the economy. But at the same time, they are not even recognized. So we want a situation where market women can access loans for, loans to get to that level, not just the big players. So I want to believe that some of these things will be taken care of. That he may, in time, rule out how he intends to achieve those things, because they actually his campaign promises. So for us, it's just to be optimistic, and it falls back on the table of the president to take such decisions that will, make his campaign promises real.
See,
okay.
Yeah, I don't really have any doubt on the capacity of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I remember one time American New York governor, Mario Cuomo. Mario Cuomo once said that most politicians campaign in poetry, but govern in prose. but I can tell you this, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is somebody that will keep to all his campaign promises. You just imagine the few appointments that have been made recently. The Chief of Staff, Mr. Bajabiamila, former Speaker, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and Senator George Akume, the Secretary to Government of the Federation, former governor, former senator, former minister. These are individuals of very impeccable character in this country. They are well experienced. They are astute administrators. So I don't have any doubt that he will bring men of integrity, in appointive office as ministers, DG and others. And he's somebody that if you are going to be a minister of finance, for example, you are in soup, because our president is a thinker. Our president is a visionary. He has very good ideas. He's not somebody that will be laid back. He will monitor you, and he will make sure that the right things are done in each of these ministries.
That is what we want in the country. So in other words, you are assuring us that he's going to
let me come in here, because my brother here just talked about men that are being appointed, and you're not looking at qualitative capacity, character of women in this country. Because you have just narrowed it down to men. I expect that you should be talking about men and women of character and integrity.
No. Actually, you're quite correct. But it is important to note that our president himself was the very first governor in the history of this country that appointed a woman
Yeah, because
as,
I'm looking
as,
at
as a deputy governor.
Yeah, I'm
so
looking at the
I may have misspoke,
Gentlemen and ladies,
but for sure,
the president had told us that he was going to shock women.
Yes.
Of course, who take prominent roles,
Yeah,
in
but
the
and also the
administration.
youth.
So far,
No.
we have not seen
But
anyone
you see
being
that
appointed.
you just said that it's too early to judge.
Yes, it's only
but-
it's only 3 or 4
So,
appointments that has
For
been
every
done.
3 appointments, there should be one
Gentlemen
woman.
and ladies, thank you very much for your contribution and sparing us your time. Well, that's it on Nigeria Today. We must thank our guests for sharing their thoughts with us. We had a very Fendo, the president, Women in Politics. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. And Chief George Abaka, he member APC, PCC Media and Publicity Directorate. He's also Southeast leader, Tinubu Support Organization, and a political affairs analyst. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
sharing
for
your
having
thoughts.
us. Thank you.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for always being part of this. Remember, the program Nigeria Today airs weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am your carrier, Clinton. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.